ask you to continue. So everybody should click continue. And then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share your screen. I'm going to share my screen so you can see my PowerPoint. All right, everybody should be able to see my PowerPoint now. Those of you, this may be your first time that's doing poultry judging. We're going to talk a little bit about why we do poultry judging, and then we're going to talk about the different parts. We'll talk a little bit about live birds, how we judge live birds. We'll look at eggs, and we'll judge eggs in several different ways. And then we'll look at the whole poultry, like the fryer carcasses. We'll look at whole carcasses and talk about how to judge those. We're not going to do all that today, but we will do it in the course of our practices. One reason we talk about poultry production is one of the things that's changed so much over the time is how modern poultry production works. And so here we have the huge poultry farms that we see on the left pictures, where they have huge poultry houses and tons of birds in a house on those feeders. But we have a lot more people that have these on the right as well. There was a point in time that we didn't see backyard poultry flocks much anymore, and now it's getting to be very, very popular, even more so during the current situation of the pandemic. More people are wanting to be involved in their local poultry production, knowing where their food comes from. And so in the current commercial poultry industry, there's around 38 billion broilers.
Leave it muted.
And then we have backyard poultry production is on the rise as well, just because people want to know where their food comes from. The commercial industry is beyond what we see at the media. There are lots of large family-owned farms, but they're contracted through the major companies. And so it's very regulated through USDA and FDA. Besides what you see on TV, there's no hormones or antibiotics in the chicken that you buy at the store, even though they advertise that it's on there and you have to pay more for it. None of it contains those because USDA doesn't allow it. So these backyard flocks, they're ideal for families with kids, and they're easy to care for. It's a connection to our rural heritage, and it makes the thoughts of having a healthier, safer, greener food supply because we know where it comes from. But we do know during the pandemic, because more people have started doing this and they've been at home to take care of them, that salmonella infections have increased on the rise as well. So today we're going to talk about poultry judging and how it fits in. Things we learned today is that we'll talk a little bit about being productive at home with your flock, and then you can learn how to pick out your chickens and grade your own eggs. So we're going to talk about the classes that we do. One is called past egg production, and that's where we judge the live birds. And so we'll talk a little bit about that today, and I'll send you some pictures to look at for doing that. And then we're going to talk about the parts, and the parts are one that you guys should be able to identify. And so I'm going to send you a bunch of pictures. They'll have the names on them and be a description. And I'm also going to email everybody a copy of the poultry judging manual with the parts and the descriptions in it as well. And so when we'll go through all these parts, and each time I'll send you pictures so you can practice at home looking through those pictures. So as we'll talk about in past egg production, we talk about bleaching. And so is one of the things when poultry are laying eggs, we're going to judge white leghorns, and so they're going to be white. But we know that the yolks in an egg are yellow. Well, they have to get that color from somewhere. And so they actually start pulling that color, that keratin, and that pigment starts pulling out of their legs, starts pulling out of their beaks, around their around their eyes and around their ears, in the bottom of their feet, their shanks, hocks. And so we look at those areas for bleaching, and because that's how they're putting in the color into their egg yolks. And so we're going to look at a few pictures as an example in just a minute, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it a little bit later. And so The first place we talk about is the vent. You're not going to see that in your pictures, and so we're not going to discuss that, but we'll look at the head. And so when we talk about egg laying and their past production, we're going to study the head, their comb and wattle. They should be fully developed, should be bright red. And so you see a fully developed, a big tall comb, wattle. Sometimes if it's a really large wattle, the comb may fall over and the wattle may hang down. But then as we look at the egg, we'll study the beak and notice that we start the bright yellow color in the right here but they've started losing that on the end. And we'll study around the eye area as this pigment goes from red to start pink, and that's where we see a loss of pigment, or we call bleaching, because it starts turning white. Then we look at legs and feet. This is the easiest area. And so hopefully you guys, as you can see the difference in these two pictures, is the legs and feet are on the left, they're still yellow, but the legs and feet on the right are white. And so that's a really easy indication of which ones laid the most eggs, because the ones that's laid the most eggs have pulled the most color out of their legs. And so the one on the right is the one that's laid the most eggs. And so when we're judging live birds, that's what we're judging on, is which one has laid the most eggs. And so when they do, and you'll be judging these based on their pictures. And so when you see the pictures, there may be pictures like this, and they'll have numbers on them. And so you'll be looking at the different feet and legs. They'll show you the heads, combs, and wattles. And so you'll be able to identify which one is the most completely bleached. And when they do this, they'll probably show you not only the front and the back of the legs, but maybe also the bottom of the feet. If we were going to be able to handle these birds, we would talk about handling quality and their skin. The more eggs they lay, the more pliable it becomes, the more stretchy it becomes. And so but we're not going to spend a lot of time, except that we may talk about capacity. And so when we talk about capacity, it's how much room they have. The more eggs they lay, the more flexible that gets, the wider their bones stretch out. And so we're actually feeling between their pubic and keel bones here. You can see his fingers here is based on how he's holding that. That is going to be, he's feeling between the pubic bones there. And so he's feeling it's 3 fingers wide between the 2 pubic bones. And then it's 4 fingers between the pubic bones here and the keel bone in the front. And so when they do a picture, they may hold you 2 pictures like that. And so you can measure if they do those pictures on the contest. I don't know what kind of pictures they're going to show you, but we'll talk about it. And so as we go through, as you'll see, so this one would measure 3 by 4. As you may have another one that measures 3 by 2. Well, 3 by 2 is not as big as a 3 by 4. So the 3 by 4 is the one that we would want to rank as being the highest in our class. We're not going to mention molting because we probably won't get into that with these pictures. We'll talk a little bit about egg grading, looking at the exterior eggs. I'm not going to worry about that one. We'll explain it when we've got eggs to actually look at and practice with. And I'll show you pictures on the slideshow. But basically, we look at the colors and the stains that's on that egg surface. And we're only going to be able to look at one side of that egg because it's going to be a picture, just like this little flat picture here. And then we'll talk about what those little chart means a little bit later. We'll talk about egg grading. We'll do it by candling and breaking out. So we'll actually show you pictures where they're holding an egg up to a light, and we have to grade them that way. And then we'll look at eggs that are broken out on a plate, and we have to grade them that way as well. And so this is when we're looking at them with the light, we look for the air cell. And so you can see these eggs here. Is the egg on the left would be what we call a double A. And so in a picture, it'll look very similar to this. Is you'll look for that little air cell at the top, if you can see my arrow going across there. And you notice this one is an A, it's a little bigger. And then as we move over here, it's got bigger, and it may be a B. And then when we look at broken out eggs, we look at the height of the yolk, and then the albumin that's just surrounding the thick white that surrounds the yolk. And so like the really tall ones with the thick albumin it's going to be a double A. One that's tall, but the albumin has started to fall is an A. And then this one where it's a really flat yolk and almost no albumin and it's really runny egg, that would be a B. So you can see what that picture looks like looking at it from above for a double A, A's, and then I think they'll show you, and then they'll show you B's here, how wide and how much they spread out. So parts is really what I wanted to cover today, because I think this is probably the easiest part. And so we're going to go over these parts. We'll talk about them. I'll give you guys some time to ask questions. And then I'm going to give you my tips, my tricks to try to help you learn how to identify the parts. And the parts are not going to be much different than what you guys eat at home, or what you're used to eating when you order. Now you may used to seeing it cook and not uncooked, but there's only 17 parts. And at the contest, you'll be asked to identify 10 of the 17. And so you will not use all the parts, but you do have, so sometimes you get confused. You'll never use them the same one twice. And so you don't have to identify all of them. And the names are actually given on the scorecard. And so you don't even have to be able to write the name. When you guys do it online, hopefully it's going to list that way, and you just put the number of the one that what you see there. So the parts include the breast cuts, which include the whole breast, the split breast, a breast with ribs, a boneless breast, breast quarter, and then a tenderloin. And that then we have the leg cuts. We have the leg quarter, a whole leg, the thigh, a boneless thigh, and then a drumstick. For those of you that like chicken legs, that's the drumstick. If you haven't done it before, the drumstick is the chicken leg. And so then we have the wing. So we have a wing, and the wing is made up of two parts, the flat and the drumette. And the drumette is, of course, is the small part of the chicken wing that looks like a small chicken leg. The giblets. If you buy a whole fryer, the giblets, what comes on the inside, that's going to be those organs that we like, chicken livers. It also includes the heart or gizzard. You may see all three and be asked to identify it. You may just see one, may just see a liver. You may see the heart individually or the gizzard, but on your score sheet, it will be known as the giblet. And then we have the neck and the back. So this first picture here is the back, and this one on the right, the two top pictures are both the back. They can display this either way. You can look at it with the skin up, or it can be turned over where the bone and the flesh is exposed. So you need to recognize the back from both pictures. So typically the back is going to be a narrow cut. And in pictures, we have to pay attention to the size of the plate. Typically, that is all that we will have to go off of as a size. So you can notice this stretches all the way across the plate. And so you see it goes from one side of the plate to the other. It's the same on this one. So it's the same back. It's just been turned over. And notice how it's kind of rectangular shaped. And so you notice that it's kind of square cut on each end, and it's straight cut across. And so that's how you can tell it's the back this way, is because it's a large cut, but you can't tell, you don't know that the backbone's there. If it's turned over this way, we can see the backbone exposed there and the ribs that are attached to it. So this is the back, and this is the back. On the bottom is if you guys want to unmute, I'll let you can unmute. I don't know, I can, but if you want to unmute where you can talk, this is the wings. You guys like chicken wings? You can nod so I can see you. Is Breeza, Matthew, you like chicken wings? You eat chicken wings? Some? All right, so that's a chicken wing, okay? And so there's two parts, but see how it's folded up, kind of triangle shape? You can see because it's got the little flipper here, and that's the flat part. It's got two bones in it that we don't normally like in the chicken wing, is right there. But both of those are displayed pictures of the chicken wing. So this one here, we're looking at this one. We have two different parts. See, these two are the same part. They're exposed a little bit differently. This one is actually the whole leg. And so the whole leg consists of the drumstick, it's on here, and the thigh up here. And so the chicken thigh, the reason we know it's the thigh, you may not be able to tell it there, but there's an exposed bone right in there where that cartilage is, and there's also exposed bone right there. And so there's two cuts that almost look identical, the whole leg and the leg quarter. And so the difference is this one is rounded. You see how this one is rounded and this one's kind of rounded? Is when we see the leg quarter has a portion of the backbone, which is going to make it square. You will see a difference with it in just a minute. And this is what you guys would call a chicken leg, but this is a drumstick because it looks like a drumstick. You hold the small end and you can beat it on a drum. So just remember that is a drumstick. And it was removed right here at the chicken off of the whole leg. All right, here's two other cuts. This is a boneless breast, and this is the same cut of boneless breast. I want you to notice how big that is. Look, it is covering the whole, it's covering almost the whole plate. And so you see the plate here using the same size plate. So we have to pay attention to the size of the plate in the picture. And as you guys probably eat a lot of chicken strips, you eat a lot of whole breast at home. That's what your family may fix, a lot of frozen breast. It's boneless, and you can tell the difference in color. See how clear, how really, really light pink or white this is. That's this cut versus this one. See how dark, how reddish color that is. So that one gives it away that these cuts here are breast cuts. And when you see how it's laid out flat on the plate, to be laid out flat on the plate, it's got to be boneless. And so because the bones is what makes it stand up. So these top two are boneless breast. Then these next two, if you notice, there's a wing attached to it. If you see anything that has a wing attached to it and it's not the wing, that is what we call the breast quarter. And so we know that's a breast quarter. And then if you look at this one here, you see it's upside down, same cut, upside down, but the wing is attached there. We still know it's a breast quarter. All right, this one here, it's another boneless cut, but look at the color. It's pink. See how dark red it is? It's almost real red. Well, we know, and then we look at the size. Look, it doesn't take up the whole plate. So we know it's not a boneless breast because it's smaller. And then of the color, because it's red, it's really dark pink or really red. So that makes it a boneless thigh. These are displayed the same way. And a boneless thigh, if you see it on a plate, it's going to be about the size of your palm. And so this one's actually spread out flat. It doesn't have any bones in it, but it's still not much bigger than my palm. And so for you guys to think about what size that is. The next one is another breast cut. This one is this one's the breast looks like it's a whole breast, but it still has the bones in it. And so this is the whole breast. It's down this way. And even when it's raised up here. And so I can't see it, I will show you a picture in just a minute of breast with ribs. We'll also talk about grading carcasses, and it's based on how much exposed flesh they have. All right, I'm going to stop my screen, and then we're going to go to some pictures, and I'm going to show you all right, and so we're going to look at more pictures of parts, and then these are the pictures that I'm going to email you guys, so you can practice these parts and look through them each week and so on. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again. So is everybody seeing the picture here that I have? All right, and so it's later today when we finish. I'll make sure you guys get pictures of these. All right, so I want you to notice this is the back again. See, it's rectangular and it's as big as the plate. This is the breast with ribs. And so I want to show it upside down because you need to be able to see the ribs. And this is like just on the front of that chicken, this is your rib cage. So they separated the breast, but they left the ribs on it. They separated it at what we call the pulley bone, or that Y-shaped bone that's in the chicken. And you need to be able to see those ribs. And so it's a breast, and if it has the ribs on it, it's called breast with ribs. And so it's really easy to identify when it's laid this way. The issue is when they lay it down the other way and we can't visually see those ribs. And so I'll show you another picture, hopefully in just a second. I'll have some more pictures that'll have those ribs on there as well. And so you'll be able to see them. Again, we'll have the boneless breast, and you can see based on the color of the meat, and see how squishy it looks laying there on the plate. There's a lot of difference between one that has the ribs and the breastbone in it versus the one that's laying there on the plate that looks like that. And so this one is it's the boneless breast because of the light color and then the size of it being on the plate. The boneless thigh. Again, see, you can see that it's small, even though you can't see the entire plate, but you know that it's small because you can't see the edges of the plate. And then it's dark red, or it's not dark red, but it's more dark pink. So that is the boneless thigh. And typically, the boneless thigh, I didn't mention, it is a square kind of cut. It looks kind of square. Again, we have a wing. That's the breast quarter because we have a wing attached to it. That one should be a dead giveaway for you guys doing the parts. If it has a wing on it, and then it is a breast quarter. I'll click the X too many times. All right. Now, chicken strips. You guys love chicken strips. This is the breast tenderloin. It's a light colored, but I want you to notice the little white string of tissue in there. That is part of the tenderloin, is what attaches to the breast, and that is the breast tenderloin. And that's what we consider a chicken strip. So the tenderloin will have this little white strip inside the meat there. And so look for that. It's going to be just like a small chicken strip laying on a plate. They curled this one up to kind of confuse you, but that is going to be a tenderloin. Again, this is a drumstick. You got a small end, and so the drumstick, sometimes they try to cut the drumstick a little bit different or to confuse you, but this one is pretty well. Drumstick is, you know how big it is. You're used to eating chicken legs and more familiar with it than probably any of them. And this is the flat. This is the part of the chicken wing. It's going to be small, so you can see this zoomed in, but it's the part of the chicken wing that has the two bones in it. And so it's actually flat cut. So if you're used to eating chicken wings, this is the flat that has the two bones. And you can see those two bones exposed on each end. All right, this is the giblets, and this part of the giblet is actually the gizzard. This is what the chicken uses to grind and chew its food up. So this is the gizzard, but on yours, as far as parts, it's identified as the giblets. This is the chicken liver. Those of us that like to eat chicken livers, you can tell that it's really, really dark. It's almost, it's really dark red, almost black. That's the chicken liver, and when we cook it, it is almost black. It's still considered the giblets, though, on our parts list. And then I don't have a picture of the heart, but the heart looks just exactly like you would think. It's a very small shaped heart. Here's the leg quarter. So we're able to see that leg quarter. See how it's got a square cut on this edge? It's almost makes a corner. And so that leg quarter, like I was telling you before, makes a corner just like this. And then we're going to see another picture of it from the top, and that's how we tell it as well. This is the same leg quarter, and then here's that square corner this time. So you have to look for that square cut with that leg quarter to tell it from this one here, which is the whole leg. And so you see how the whole leg is really rounded and you're separated at that joint. That leg quarter is going to be square. So there's the difference between this one and this one. So you got a square corner here where the other one is round. Is the next one we have is the neck. Sometimes people get confused with the drumstick, but you'll be able to see it. It's usually really confusing especially when they show it with the skin on. Is in some of your practices that we will do each week. Is that I'll have the picture of the neck with the skin off, and so it's not really fun. But I'll try to click through some pictures each week so that we can look at it, and it'll be different than what you practice with. This one is the split breast, and so basically it's the breast that's been cut in half. We can tell by the color, but look, you can see the edge of the plate again. So we know it covers almost the whole plate, stretches across the plate. But we know it's not the whole breast because it doesn't have both sides. There's going to be another picture. Right here's what it looks like from the other side. If you see it exposed, we see that we cut it right down the breastbone, and then we have the ribs for that side. And so we have it split right in half, makes it a split breast. The thigh, and so here's the bone-in thigh. So you can see that it's dark pink, almost a red meat. And so that's the dark meat of the chicken, and you can tell it's got a bone in it because it's raised up. It's not flat and squishy like when we look at it on a plate. And then here it is again with the skin on, and you can tell that it's raised up, not laying flat on the plate like the boneless thigh. And then here's the whole breast. We can see the whole breast here, and so we know that it's the whole breast because it's raised up really high. And it goes from one side of the plate to the other and almost all the way across it through the width of it. Here again is a whole breast, but this time we have more of the skin removed. But it's the whole breast because it still has the part of the ribs there attached, and it's still really big on the plate. We can still see parts of the plate how big it is. And there's that whole leg I described to you. It's separated at the hip joint. Right here at the ball and socket of the hip joint, and then it's really rounded. Here's another picture of the wing. It looks a lot different, but it's still even though it's different, we have the flat here and the drumstick part there, and it's still almost shaped in a triangle. So that's all of our parts. And so, guys, I've went through about 30 minutes. Can you guys, do you know how to unmute your microphone? If you look in the lower part of the screen, you should be able to see the little mute button, little microphone button. Click that. All right, Breeza, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so it's what we'll do each week is I'll have some slides that I'll put up, and we will click through them, and I'll let you guys answer them in the chat section each week. And so as soon as I finish and get off here, I have your email. I think I've got your mom or your dad's email one. So I'm going to send you some files to that email. And Kai, I'm going to do the same thing with you as well. Okay. And so Kai, if you will you can have your mom put your email in chat so I can email you these files. And you guys just click through the pictures and look at them and be familiar with them each week. And I'm going to send you a book. I'll send you a PDF, so it's easy to open. You can open it be able to open probably on your phone or even on your laptop where you can look at them. And that way you're familiar with the parts. And what we'll do is each week I will send you something else to kind of practice on each week, okay, or each meeting. And so like we'll meet again on Wednesday, and on Wednesday I'll send you pictures of I'll send you several different pictures of the live birds for us to look at. And so I'm going to pull some live birds up in a minute, but I don't want you to practice on them. You don't have to practice on them until after Wednesday. And because the parts are something that you don't have to judge, it's nobody's opinion. You should be able to identify your parts. Is Matthew back? Can he hear me back there too?
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, I hope by next week we will have. They haven't told us how we're going to do the contest yet. They just told us when it's going to be, and it's going to be on October I think it's the 8th, and it's going to be at it's going to be from 6 to 8 at night. I don't know. They'll send us a link for you guys to be able to log on to the contest, and hopefully they're going to tell us how they're going to use the score sheets, or how you're going to answer. I don't know if it's going to be like you click on something to click 1, 2, 3, or 4. And so hopefully they'll give us some more instructions prior to our contest so I can share with you guys. But it's all going to be done based on pictures. And so you should be able to do it based on pictures. And then if they give me instructions, I'll go over the scorecards so you guys can fill out the scorecards and know how to do that prior to the contest. So, Breeza, did you do poultry judging last year or no? You've done livestock judging. Okay. The live birds are just like livestock judging. And Kai, you've done this a few times, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I thought so. And so if we have to do they do live birds on the pictures just like you guys judge. The scorecard will be just like you do like in poultry judging. Pick 1, 2, 3, 4. The other scorecards are a little different, and so once they give us some information, I will share that with you. But we need to be working on everything as we get. And so, so on Wednesday, we will talk a little bit about we'll talk a little bit about live birds, and we'll talk about and I'll talk about candling eggs. And so we'll have pictures of those eggs where you can shine a flashlight on them, and what they look like as you candle those eggs. And so you'll be able to. I'll talk to you about how you grade them, what you're looking for, and then we go through those, and that way you guys can spend time practicing at home. And then when we do the contest I really like doing this in person, but the only reason I did it online is because the contest is going to be virtual. So you guys are used to logging in and doing something virtually. Let's see. All right. I'm going to about the live birds again, because this one is fairly easy when we do the pictures. I'm going to move it over, and I think they actually do have and then I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to go through and show you some of the pictures at the bottom of this one. So when we talk about live birds, you'll be familiar. And so, like I said, they talk about live birds. They take the yellow pigment from different parts of their body, and then it goes down, and that's what goes into the egg yolk. So these are the places that we start looking. When you see those pictures, they're going to show you the easiest place to see is going to be their shanks, which is their legs, and then their hocks and their toes. And so some of those, you may see them that their shanks have started to turn white, but maybe their toes have. And so you can tell there. Then that eye ring or around the eye. So we're going to look at these. And this is the order they do it. The vent, which you guys aren't going to be able to see a picture of the vent. Then they do the eye ring. They do the earlobe. And then they start you can start here at the base of the comb and wattle, the beak. And then the last thing is 6 and 7. So we know they've got into egg production when they start losing color in their legs. Right, so. All right, and so here's the difference. And so what we talk about is we want them to look really healthy and vibrant. And so you see the comb and wattles bright red, is we know those birds are really healthy. And so when I judged your birds at the fair, you've seen that they were bright red and looked like this one. So we want them to look like that. And we don't want them to start losing color like this because we know something is wrong. Especially this one on the right that has the bright yellow beak. And so we want them to look good here with a bright red comb and wattle. And so here's the one that I want. This is the slides that I wanted to show you. So now we're looking, this is the type of pictures that they're going to show you guys. Is you're going to see pictures of their legs, and this is how we would be looking at them. And so is you guys can unmute, and then looking at these pictures, which one is the whitest? Which one has lost the most pigment in their feet?
Cage 3.
Cage 3, that's right. So cage 3 is the one that we would think has laid the most eggs because their legs are the whitest. Which one do you think's laid the fewest eggs?
4. 2.
4. Cage 4. Cage 4 and then cage 2. And so we see how bright yellow cage 4 is. And see cage 2, they're still yellow here, but look, we've started to lose some pigment. You barely can see it, but here and here. And then if you look at the backs, if you look at the second picture, we notice the backs of cage 2 are white, kind of white a little bit in the bottom of the feet. But look at cage 4, they're still yellow. And so that's exactly how you will have to compare them in your when we do the contest on October the 8th. That's how you have to compare them. You have to be able to do this online and looking at those pictures. And so, well, if we know 3 is 1 and 4 is the last one, well, then you got to look between 1 and 2. So which one between 1 and 2, which one's laid the most eggs?
2. 1.
1, yep, is 1 and then 2. And so that's exactly how you do the live birds, you know, when we're looking at these pictures. And so I hope they're going to show you pictures exactly like this, because that's the only way they can do it is by showing you pictures. And so these next pictures is what you just showed me is exactly what you told me that they how you place them 3, 1, 2, 4. That's exactly what you guys did. And so that's how easy it is to judge live birds if we're using. So let's look at this one. This one's a little bit harder. Okay. And so when we look at this one, we have to look really closely on this one. We know which one's the worst. Which one's laid the fewest eggs?
Cage 3.
Yeah, cage 3.
Not the most, but the fewest. Which one's laid the least? Which one's the yellowest legs?
2.
Cage 2.
Cage 2.
Cage 2, yeah, cage 2. And so cage 2 is going to be the bottom. We know cage 2 is on the bottom. And then we got 3 and 4, and then we have 1. And so, see, neither one of these we hardly see any color in 3 and 4, but we do see color in cage 1. Probably cage 1 is going to be 3rd place because it's the only one that has any color in it left at all. And so now we have to come over to cage 3 and 4. We try to look at, it's very difficult. And so is it on this class is if you got 1 and 2 right, you know, cage 3 and 4, you might have to look at their comb and water, see which one looks the healthiest or something like that. But it's probably not going to matter. You know, we want you to be perfect, but it's probably 4 because it looks a little whiter here over 3. 3 tends to have a little color here, just a little bit on the bottom. But we don't know. We'll see what they say in the slides. But it's going to be very, very close either way. So birds 3 and 4 are similar in bleaching. That's your top pair. That's what we just talked about. They're the 2 tops. You guys knew that. And then the 1 and 2 are similar in bleaching. They're the bottom pair. If you get the bottom and the top right, you've probably done okay on the class. You're only going to lose 2 or 3 points. If you lose 2 or 3, it's not going to matter if you win or lose the contest. And so that's exactly how you guys are going to do it is judge those birds when we get ready to have the contest online. And so they may talk about this, but I doubt we'll see the handling qualities. Is the difference in 3 and 4 is the thickness of the pubic bones. The really thin, pliable skin means they've laid more versus number 4. Versus 4 is a little bit thicker. It's a little harder. And so probably it's going to be 3 over 4. And so 3 has better handling qualities. So 3 over 4 and then 1 over 2. That's how they place the group, and that's how you would mark them if you have a scorecard. It would be 3, 4, 1, 2. All right, guys. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. Kai Can you see the chat box at all, Kai, on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, if you click that chat box, is either put your mom's email or an email where I can send you the stuff so you can practice. Okay? And I already have y'all's email, Matt, Matt and Reza. And so if not, I will see you guys on Wednesday afternoon. That's all I have for today.
Okay.
And then if you have questions, you guys write them down and make sure you ask me, and when I log in on Wednesday before we get started.
Mr. Evans,
Yes, sir.
why do chickens, when you try to teach them to stop staying outside of the pen, they just keep on going out?
Look, that is, I don't know, mine do that too. And so they're probably tired of being in the pen. They want to run around and be free like the rest of us.
We have these little bannies, this banny rooster, and I raised a little banny a hen, and she had she had babies under the stairs,